of the past few months, we ended up having a lot of different conversations throughout the community on things that need to be changed and acknowledged within World War II, and a lot of people had a little bit of a dissatisfaction with the amount of communication that there was between us, the community, and Sledgehammer, the developers, working on World War II, and that's something that even maybe you have had experience with, in which you felt kind of in the dark on some situations. But admittedly, I'm actually really happy with how Condry and Sledgehammer have been taking to Reddit the past couple of days. I think there's been 4 or 5 updates in just as many of days, talking about different states of the game, things that will be coming up, things that they're acknowledging and will be addressing in the future, and I really like that clear line of communication, that clear channel to allow us as the community to give feedback on what we think can help the game improve and overall just make it a better playing experience, and there the game can progress and move into how the developers see fit. And once again, with these sorts of updates, we've been getting smaller things here and there, but one that we ended up getting earlier in the day is one that I think is rather substantial and gives us a nice in-depth look at some of the stuff that we did not know about already coming up within the upcoming patch within World War II, and there's gonna be some cool stuff that I think you guys definitely will enjoy that addresses some of the big things that the community's been asking for a bit of time in some areas. So that said, we're gonna be talking about those here in depth and giving you guys everything you need to know about these, and then seeing where we can go from there with what we can end up expecting within the next couple of weeks and the title update coming thereafter. Now, this most recent update was posted by Condry over on Reddit earlier today once again, and it served kind of as a roadmap for the rest of January and the things we'll be seeing via content and changes coming during that time. So not everything is going to be exclusively with this major title update. There are some things like weapon tuning coming next week, he even detailed. So what weapons those might be, that is probably an indicator of the Kar 98, as mentioned, the M1 Garand potentially being looked at, the FG42 kind of getting rebalanced and being buffed ever so slightly, and the STG44 potentially being buffed as well. Those might be the weapon updates and tuning that they're talking about within this one. But aside from that, there is no real indication, no real clear line to denote which weapons are going to be specifically tuned. Those are ones that in, once again, one of these recent updates that was given was something that was mentioned, though, that they were on the chopping block. So we'll see in time. Once again, looks like next week those will be coming, but as for the other stuff, well, there's still quite a bit of cool stuff coming here within the upcoming weeks. So that said, probably one of the biggest things that is going to be coming here out of this is the Resistance event, which is something that probably we don't have much information on it just yet, is going to be something sort of like a launch event for the Resistance DLC 1. So either right before it goes live or right whenever the DLC goes live as well, we'll have maybe a couple of week-long event like this again with some cool weapon collections, some new DLC weapons presumably, and of course just overall celebrating the brand new DLC coming out for that. But perhaps the biggest thing to come out of this little mini update that Condry gave us was something that a lot of people have been asking for since launch, and something that we even saw during the beta that was adjusted. People seem to really like it. The developers seem to be open to that communication and feedback, and then whenever the game launched, it reverted back. That being Domination, because Domination, if you guys remember, started out as 50 points per kill, then we ended up getting a little bit of a buff to that within the beta. I think it was the second weekend of the PlayStation 4 beta or something like that, but regardless, it was something that was changed from 50 to 100 points per kill, which made it a lot more enjoyable for, at least in my opinion, where you can end up getting more streaks, you can start to get more score and more XP out of it, and ultimately it just was something that was nice, I think. But we ended up getting that reverted back for the full launch of the game. However, this was something that Condry said that they're actually testing out and looking to implement a brand new playlist called Domination XL, in which it is 100 points per kill, and the standard Domination playlist will still be active, the game mode will still be there, but potentially for a limited time only, or potentially maybe entirely on its own, as it's something that is added in on top of it. Domination XL will give you the option to play the standard Domination you know, every single map, every single rule set as we have now. The only thing that's changed is the amount of XP and points you end up getting per kill, which is fantastic. I'm totally open to this idea, and I'm very much so looking forward to it, because that's been a really big hot topic of discussion. Are people really enjoying Domination 50 like their air quote data suggests, or is it something that we should really keep this moving upwards to 150? And a lot of people were thinking, well, why don't we compromise and go 75 points per kill, because that helps get streaks, that helps progress the game on a little bit further, but it also doesn't doesn't keep anything spammy in the way of aerial support or anything that developers have mentioned they think might happen. So that said, this is going to be something that probably is going to launch with the Resistance DLC event, in which that is going to come out once again at the later end of the month, not this upcoming week as we see with weapon tuning and everything. So that'll probably be implemented with the start of the Resistance event, maybe a featured playlist, maybe something like that, but it is going to be a test playlist to re-examine how Sledgehammer really feels and how the community feels essentially on Domination at 100 points per kill compared to 50 points per kill. But aside from what is probably the big hitter out of this sort of mini update that Condry gave us of Domination being moved up to a Domination XL playlist, we also ended up getting some information on ranked play, which a lot of people really seem to be intrigued on and wanting more information about on when Season 2 will be starting. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised because my channel has predominantly always just been viewers that like public matches, but a lot of you guys this year seem to really be taking an interest into ranked play, which I'm totally cool with. I loved ranked, and I'm glad that you guys are having a blast with it as well. But that said, Season 1, the update for this, will finish this off and allow it to end on January 31st, with Season 2 officially kicking off on February 1st. But the nice part about Season 2 is that you can play with parties. You're gonna be able to play with a full squad. We ended up getting an update recently to ranked play in which you could play with one friend, so you had duos, but before that it was only solo play and only ending up setting up the parameters and the basis for your own individual MMR, which in theory will allow for better matchmaking if you end up going and playing in a team. So whenever we talked about this initially, it was one of those things where I brought up, say you have 3 of the best pros playing with somebody that just picked up the game for the first time, it's their first Call of Duty ever, and they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. If you have somebody that gets carried to that max rank, that's something that ends up skewing how the matchmaking will actually perceive and place players in a sort of competitive environment, where on paper you have these numbers, but in skill level you're not actually there. So solo MMRs kind of help to lessen that gap in when that actually might occur and when you can end up seeing more accurate representations within even grouped matches for ranked play. So it's something that made sense. A lot of people weren't too fond of it, but at its core, I thought it made sense, and it was something that now moving forward, though, we won't really have to worry about too much. On top of that, though, another ranked change is that they're looking to add XP rewards to ranked play, which the way that it's worded is really making it sound like you're going to be able to get XP for your multiplayer progression just from playing ranked play, which is something that is really sick, I think, in how this works out, because you get rewarded for playing the game as its whole, but of course it also, if you want to dabble in something, it doesn't take away from one more so than the other. Sure, you might not get as much XP for playing ranked if you just say comparably take that time and put it into how much you end up playing multiplayer, but you still get rewarded in some way, shape, or form across each platform. So I think that's something that is very nice and definitely is something that will be a pro going forward. They haven't really determined how much will be given just yet. They're still saying that they are tweaking this and working on it, but it is something that you can anticipate that coming in the near future as well. Now, one cool thing that doesn't really affect us as players, but if you guys are into competitive, CWL New Orleans is coming up, and that's something that Sledgehammer said they were also working on within this next week, setting up the full official stream within the theater within headquarters. That's something that since headquarters launched, I probably haven't been into the theater more than 5 times, and probably all of those have been to collect those orders in which you get social score for watching something, and all you have to do is go in, enter into the theater, and then exit immediately. You don't have to watch anything. So to be able to have like a purpose there, I think is actually going to be very cool and might actually be something that the community really enjoys. But that's something I wanted to include and throw in here for you guys so you knew about it, but it doesn't necessarily change how you play the game. Now, probably one of the biggest things here also out of this that is going to be a game change in itself was something that was also addressed and already starting to be addressed on the PC version, kind of as the live testing guinea pigs here, if you want to put it that way, is that Sledgehammer was working on a way around the Spectator bug. That's something that you guys have probably known for a while now. You've probably experienced at least once or twice at this point in time, but it is something that is incredibly irritating. I even saw yesterday on Reddit a video of somebody posting this in which they ended up choosing their class, they picked their weapon, and then they had the 10-second countdown timer from there, and then they didn't get into the hardcore team deathmatch they were in for another 36 seconds. So that's something that this persists in varying capacities. I know I haven't had it at that extent, but I've had maybe 10-second one at max, but still it happens for a various number of times for various people. But that's something that should be fixed in the next update for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, or at least addressed to a more fuller extent, because like we said, the PC version was that live active guinea pig that Sledgehammer was testing here for this, and they said that they got it down to a very small margin of error, in which it's a very rare instance now on PC, and now the next order of business is PlayStation PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Now, I'm incredibly excited for that one, and of course, I'm also very happy with the sort of communication, once again, rounding this all up, that we have this open channel of communication now with Conjuring and Sledgehammer on a regular basis, it seems, if the last 5 days or so is any indicator as that. Now, I'm not expecting to update every single day, but I really do enjoy this ability to check Reddit every so often and see something from the studio and a little bit of that, once again, clear channel of communication. It's just nice to have that feedback, that conversational aspect, essentially, that it feels like we know what was going on and we might have a hand in how the game progresses. So I'm really excited to see where this goes here from this. January is, of course, looking to turn out to be a nice couple of weeks remaining within the month with content coming out intermittently through there. So I'm very much so excited for that, but all these changes that have been detailed, all these updates, weapon tunings, like again, we don't know if it's going to be the Kar 98, the M1 Garand, the STG, and the FG like was mentioned by Condry earlier, or if it's going to be something else entirely, talking about different weapons. Maybe it addresses the iron sight discrepancies, because a few of the weapons, and most notably the SVT, actually end up kicking and shooting higher than where you're actually aiming at, almost essentially as if the recoil kicks in before the shot is registered. So whereas, say, on the iron sight, you'd end up having the shot at the top of your iron sight instead of where the crosshair actually is. So it's something weird like that, so maybe that's addressed, maybe that's fixed, but ultimately there's a lot of stuff on the horizon. We keep getting smaller and incremental, more teasers throughout the upcoming days that we end up getting information on for this event coming up and the things leading up to it. With that said, I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. Is there anything in particular you're very excited for out of this January preview that Conjurer gave us? Is there anything that you're kind of hoping comes in addition to this, or are you guys maybe not pleased with what was detailed here for this? Anything that you guys have, feel free to let me know down there in the comment section down below. Of course, it is all open to discussion. And if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing with World War II. We're gonna be keeping you guys up to date with anything you need to know. Best class setups, tips, tricks, news, information, updates like this. If any of it interests you, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that's the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But all that said, now out of the way, hope you guys have a fantastic day. Thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.